The scanner beeped once. Then again. Before Maya Langston could step aside, a gloved hand slammed onto her tote. "Hey! Step back. You're holding this line up." The voice was sharp, clipped, and authoritative. Officer Ryan Calloway leaned over the conveyor belt, his eyes fixed on her with predatory scrutiny. Every micro-expression of his face broadcast confidence, entitlement, and impatience. "Take off your jacket. Empty your pockets. Why do you have 2 IDs? What's in this bag? You look like the kind that does shady stuff, and where are you departing to?" Maya's hands moved slowly, deliberately, sliding the tote onto the table. Her movements were precise, every gesture deliberate, calculated to make him wait, to force him into impatience. Her eyes were calm, unflinching, measuring, absorbing his every twitch. The terminal's ambient noise, the rolling of luggage, murmurs, distant boarding announcements, faded into a tense backdrop. Every passenger now became a witness. Phones subtly raised, capturing evidence of the confrontation. Murmurs spread quietly through the crowd, a ripple of awareness that something was off. Ryan's impatience began to show. His jaw tightened. One knuckle tapped the polished metal of the conveyor table. His glare, sharp and focused, aimed to intimidate. "Ma'am," I said now. "Do you want me to call this in?" Maya's internal monologue remained cold, precise. Let him think he's in control. Let him overstep. Every misstep counts. Every twitch, every word, I will catalog in memory. She unclipped her jacket, folding it slowly and deliberately. Each second passed, and his tension mounted, like a rope being pulled taut. "What are you hiding? Don't lie to me. I've dealt with people like you before." The air was thick with judgment. Passengers' eyes shifted nervously, aware of the power imbalance. Phones captured every subtle motion. A twitch of his shoulder, the tightening of his fingers, the way he leaned in. Each act of dominance became a recorded imprint, a witness to arrogance unchecked. Maya's voice finally broke through, calm and precise. "I am complying, officer. Please follow procedure. I have nothing to hide." But Ryan's arrogance was a shield, one he wielded blindly. He leaned closer, invading her space, fingers brushing the edge of her jacket. His impatience became physical, aggressive without formal cause. "I said empty the bag. Or I will escalate this." A bead of sweat ran down his temple. The fluorescent lights reflected off the polished floors, catching the tension in 1,000 subtle reflections. Maya's mind remained detached. She observed everything, the slight twitch of his jaw, the barely noticeable tightening of his nostrils, the way his eyes scanned the line for witnesses who might support him. Every twitch, every breath, every micro-expression was a data point. "Are you listening, ma'am? Step it up." Passengers shifted instinctively, unsure whether to intervene or retreat. Phones were subtly raised to record, but the audience didn't yet know the full significance of this encounter. The terminal had transformed from a place of mundane travel into a crucible of tension, authority, and judgment. Maya slid her hands back into the tote. Slowly, calculated, extracting nothing threatening, nothing unusual. The act was deliberate, a signal to Ryan that she was fully compliant, yet fully aware. "Do you know who you're dealing with?" Ryan barked, misreading her silence for hesitation. Maya's inner thought cut sharper than words. "I know exactly who I'm dealing with, and he has no idea what's coming." The scanner beeped once more, innocuously. A harmless signal, but in the charged atmosphere, it felt like the strike of a bell announcing judgment. Her movements slowed, each microgesture intentional. Ryan's impatience became palpable. The air between them thickened. A witness in line shifted, gripping the strap of her carry-on. Another passenger tilted their phone slightly, aiming the camera at the scene. Subtle, almost invisible pressure built around him. "Step aside, ma'am. This is wasting time." Maya's eyes flicked toward the side of the terminal. Cameras, public and internal, lined the ceilings and walls, silently recording. She did not flinch. "Step aside? You're the one stepping over bounds, officer." Her words were calm but precise. The crowd around them reacted subtly, heads turned, eyes widened. Murmurs built, an invisible weight pressing down on Ryan. Then a new sound arrived, a soft click from her bag. A phone perhaps, sending a secure alert, though no one in the terminal could know. The moment passed unnoticed by him, but it was a thread that would later weave consequences. Ryan leaned closer, his authority like a weight pressing down. His hand hovered over the tote again, fingers twitching to grab, to assert, to dominate. I said now. Empty the bag. Maya did not move. Her calm was unbreakable. Her mind raced, cataloging every slight, every word, every subtle infraction he committed. Each violation, each microaggression was stored, like evidence waiting for the right moment. And then, at the apex of tension, just as Ryan's hand reached toward her tote for the second time, the terminal lights flickered momentarily. A hush fell. Phones subtly lowered. Every passenger felt it, a pause, a breath held in anticipation. Ryan's hand hovered over Maya's tote, hovering as if poised to strike first and think later. His impatience radiated in every twitch of his jaw, every tightening of his fingers. I said empty the bag. Now. The terminal buzzed quietly in the background, but the noise felt distant. All attention had gravitated toward the confrontation. Travelers froze mid-step. Phones subtly rose to capture every gesture, every word, every inch of his invasive authority. Maya's movements remained measured, deliberate, unhurried. Her hand slid into the tote again, slowly retrieving a small item, wallet, phone, ID. Nothing threatening. Nothing unusual. You think you can stand there and lecture me? Step aside if you don't want trouble, Ryan barked. Every word he spoke was laced with arrogance. But the audience, now fully immersed in the tension, sensed the imbalance growing. The crowd murmured quietly, passengers exchanging glances, subtly recording the unfolding spectacle. Maya's internal thoughts were cold, precise. Let him assume control. Let him overreach. Every misstep will be accounted for. Every twitch will be logged. Her hands emerged from the tote, holding a single ID, presented with the calm precision of someone casually handing over a menu at a restaurant. Her composure was unshakable. Her gaze locked on Ryan's. Ryan's eyes flicked to the text, then froze. U.S. Department of Homeland Security Director. The words struck like lightning. The terminal fell silent, as if a collective breath had been held. Phones hovered midair. Passengers stiffened, watching the once aggressive officer suddenly lose command of the moment. Ryan's jaw worked, but no words formed. His authority, previously a shield, crumbled under the weight of reality. Maya's voice broke the silence, calm and deliberate. Officer Calloway, your conduct is now subject to internal review. Please follow proper procedure. The impact was immediate. Ryan's colleagues shifted uncomfortably, recognizing the significance. The cameras lining the ceiling, silent, invisible witnesses, had captured every motion, every violation. Every microaggression, every misuse of authority, every invasive gesture now became tangible evidence against him. Within minutes, airport security personnel and internal DHS investigators arrived. Ryan was quietly escorted from the line. Each step he took was measured, constrained by the institutional procedure that Maya had anticipated. His arrogance, once a source of confidence, had become his undoing. Maya straightened her jacket, her calm unbroken. She had orchestrated the situation flawlessly. No shouting, no theatrics, no public spectacle, just precise, procedural accountability. The crowd's murmurs shifted from curiosity to awe. Phones were lowered. The invisible lesson was clear. The predator had become the scrutinized. Maya's internal reflection carried a calculated moral weight. True authority is not enforced through intimidation. It is measured, deliberate, and grounded in law. Those who wield power carelessly will expose themselves to consequences they cannot control. But even in the midst of triumph, tension lingered. Ryan's eyes darted back toward her, uncomprehending, frustrated. He was not yet broken. The institutional mechanisms had begun, but the story was far from over. Passengers began to murmur quietly, some whispering among themselves. Who was that? Director of Homeland Security? Here. I can't believe he didn't recognize her. Maya's tote rested lightly on her shoulder. She moved to the edge of the terminal, walking with unhurried grace. Every passenger's gaze lingered for a fraction longer than normal. The tension in the air remained palpable. Then a soft notification ping came from her phone. A secure alert had been sent, internal channels now fully engaged. Surveillance footage, witness statements, procedural reports, all converging into a web that Ryan could no longer influence. Yet, just as Maya approached the side terminal, a subtle movement caught her eye. Ryan, temporarily gone from view, had returned to the line. His gaze flicked toward her, a combination of fury and uncertainty that hinted at unfinished reckoning. The predator-turned-target is still present, tension unresolved, and the stakes are about to escalate. Ryan Calloway's footsteps echoed along the polished terminal corridor, hollow and measured. He had been escorted out with a quiet efficiency that contrasted sharply with his prior arrogance. Every microaggression, every violation of protocol, every invasive gesture had been captured. His authority, once a shield, now lay fractured. The terminal's ambient noise resumed, rolling luggage, murmurs, boarding announcements, but beneath the normalcy remained a subtle tension, like an invisible weight in the air. Travelers unconsciously shifted, aware that the confrontation had recalibrated the space, even if they didn't know why. Maya walked past them, her tote resting lightly on her shoulder. Her stride was unhurried, almost casual, yet commanding. There was no need for applause or recognition. Authority, she knew, required no spectacle. Her internal reflection was precise. True power is silent. It is exercised through observation, calculation, and moral certainty. It is not proved by intimidation, threats, or bluster. Those who assume dominance without awareness will always be undone. A young traveler paused near the security line, watching her glide past the checkpoint. "You don't realize who you're dealing with until it's too late," the traveler whispered, almost to themselves. The words lingered like smoke in the air, a subtle echo of the confrontation, a whisper of the moral lesson. Phones were lowered, passengers resumed their paths, yet the resonance of the event remained. As Maya passed under a bank of security cameras, the lens captured her calm, deliberate steps. She was ordinary to the untrained eye, yet extraordinary to those who understood the weight of responsibility. No one witnessed the small, knowing smirk that flickered briefly across her face, a silent acknowledgement of justice delivered without noise, without drama. Meanwhile, Ryan's disciplinary process had begun in earnest. Internal review, mandatory procedural and sensitivity training, and perhaps a temporary suspension awaited him. The humiliation was immediate and undeniable. The arrogance that had fueled his unchecked authority now confronted the inevitability of accountability. Yet the tension lingered subtly. Ryan, though removed, had not fully grasped the scale of consequences that awaited him. Institutional measures were active, but the psychological weight of his collapse, his exposure before colleagues and the public, was just beginning to settle. Maya paused near her gate, looking out across the terminal. Hundreds of travelers moved around her, oblivious to the precise recalibration of power that had just occurred. Her tote swung lightly, each step a measured cadence. She allowed herself a moment to reflect, the culmination of strategy, observation, and moral clarity settling into her consciousness. The world will always reward those who act with deliberate authority and moral certainty. Ego may roar, but strategy whispers, and whispers endure far longer than any shout. A soft chime from her phone reminded her of the internal reports, the secure communications confirming that every action, every violation, had been documented. Every witness statement, every camera feed, every microaggression had been catalogued. The boarding announcement called her flight. She glanced at the crowd behind her, noting subtle gestures, raised eyebrows, lowered phones, whispers of awe. The world moved on, indifferent to her presence, yet subtly marked by it. Maya approached the jet bridge, her figure solitary yet commanding. Every detail, stride, tote, posture, was intentional, precise. Her victory required no recognition, only the quiet certainty of accountability fulfilled. Authority misused is temporary. Authority exercised with intelligence, patience, and moral certainty endures, she reflected. As she stepped onto the plane, the terminal lights glinted off the polished floors, the hum of announcements and rolling luggage blending into the mundane. Yet the moral weight of the confrontation remained, invisible but indelible. The quiet recalibration of power, the subtle triumph of law over arrogance, lingered in every corner of the space. Just as the doors closed, Maya's peripheral vision caught a flicker. A figure, Ryan, momentarily unobserved, stood near the checkpoint, his gaze fixed on her retreating figure. He was silent, still, yet his eyes carried a storm of disbelief, frustration, and unacknowledged defeat. If this story made you pause, think, or feel the quiet weight of justice, then you belong here, at Hidden Tale Stories. Subscribe now and step into the next true story where silence becomes strength.